your ability to observe things. And so recognition made. Thank you, Kate, for identifying that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get us started because this is the Clinical Consultation Network. As you know, we do this every Tuesday at 12:30. So I'm so happy to have all of you here. Hold on one moment. I'm going to have to redirect the Roomba and then we'll get started. I have developed a terrible obsession with keeping my floors clean. And so my Roomba was running and it was coming in the room. I was afraid it was going to disrupt us, so I got rid of it. So glad to have all of you here today, though. This is Clinical Consultation Network. This week, of course, we have Chrissy Hood, who we're going to meet in just a moment. She's going to talk to us about Changing Spaces, which is an organization she's put together to address the need for changing tables, adult changing tables at state parks and other public places across the state. So happy to have Chrissy with us today. On April 19th, next week, we're going to have Laura Greer, who's with Hamilton County Schools. She's their homeless liaison. So she's going to be with us to talk about the work that she's doing. On April 26th, our NAD collaboration is happening. And so we have Jana Dreisner, Dr. Jana Dreisner, who many of you may know. She's from Tennessee, and she's going to be talking to us about serving the deaf population. And then on May 3rd, we have Adityan Rajaraman, who is going to talk to us about trauma-informed approaches from the behavior analytic perspective. So we've got some great presentations upcoming on Clinical Consultation Network. I hope you'll be able to join us for each one of those. Today, we're going to do some quick introductions and get to know Ms. Hood a little bit different, and a little bit. I said, what's different? We've already done the what's different piece back here on my backdrop, and Kate Vogt is the winner this week, the winner of nothing, but the winner nonetheless. And so before well, let's just launch in and go ahead and get to know you just a little bit, Chrissy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this work with regard to changing spaces?
Thank you for having me. My connection to disability is our youngest daughter, Elena. She is 19. She has autism, cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and all of this is caused from a rare genetic mutation syndrome called Phelan-McDermid syndrome. So that is kind of how I became involved with Changing Spaces, because Elena at age 3 outgrew changing tables, and so we needed somewhere to change her. When I joined the council, I'm a governor-appointed member of the Tennessee Council on Developmental Disabilities. And so when I joined the council, I began having conversations with Lauren Piercy, who at the time was the policy director. And so between that and Disability Day on the Hill, it just kind of kept rolling and moving, and lots and lots of people have helped along the way, have become part of it. Roddy Coe, who is from Hamilton County, who is also governor appointed member of the Tennessee Council on Developmental Disabilities, has been working with us. And honestly, he does not have that need for his family, but he walked into a restroom and saw the need. And because of that, he became involved. And he is responsible for getting Senator Watson to sign on as a bill sponsor. So this basically came about because of a need that our family had.
All right. Now, I hope Babs told you about this need to share an interesting fact about yourself before we launch in totally. So do you want to share with us that interesting fact about yourself?
Yes. I collect nutcrackers. My mother absolutely loved nutcrackers. So when we had, I guess right before Elena was born, right after Elena was born, so probably about 2003, I started collecting them. And so every year, my children, now that they're grown, my older girls do it on their own as well. And then my husband, they give me nutcrackers throughout the holiday season to display.
These are they're not like ones you can really use. They're decorative.
Just decorative.
Yeah, but that's great. Yeah, I've seen hundreds of those in our house as well. So my wife is a bit of a collector as well. So That's great. So, do you have any that are particularly rare or interesting?
I have one. My girls went in together and purchased it. My father served 20 years in the Navy, retired from U.S. Navy, and they found a nutcracker that is actually a Navy soldier or Navy. He holds his flag and he has on the Navy uniform and everything. So my dad passed away years and years ago. So that's just kind of a sentimental one for me.
Okay, well, that's great. And we thank you for your father's service as well. Thank your father for his service. So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Babs, are we in a position to, instead of a Get Smarticle, Chrissy, every week we do a Get Smarticle, but on this occasion, we're going to do a get viddy with it, I guess, maybe a video today that we're going to do that you made with the Council on Developmental Disabilities related to this topic that we're discussing today. So I thought this would be a great way to kick things off, and then we'll turn it over to you to talk to us further about what you're doing.
Sounds good.
I also wanted to point out that as this video starts in just a moment, there are multiple nutcrackers in the background, which I thought was funny when I heard her fun fact.
Ah, that's great. It all comes together.
Elena is always happy. She's almost always smiling. She loves going places, loves to be around people, and just be included in her community just like anyone else does. She is a huge blessing to our lives. Elena is completely nonverbal. She relies on us for all of her daily care, for changing her clothes, for toileting, for feeding. We have to comb her hair and brush her teeth. Good job. Do you want to go? Go. All right, let's go. Come on. For someone like Elena, having a location to change her, our only option at this point is to lay her in a dirty bathroom floor. That exposes her because you can see under the stalls. Once they outgrow the baby changing tables, that is our only option. So we spend a lot of time driving around parking lots, finding that area where we can turn the van away and where there aren't people passing by that can see her, because she is 18 years old and we do want to respect her privacy and keep her dignity and not expose her. I began speaking with our church, different ball fields and things where Elena would go, just letting them know that we had that need. But once I joined the council, things really started to change and take shape. After my orientation, I sat down with Lauren and I expressed the need for adult-sized changing tables, and it wasn't something that she didn't care about. It was just something that was not on her radar and that she had never thought about. And so she began walking me through the process of how do we work towards getting a bill introduced, how do we find a sponsor, and how does the process work?
We're designed so that our council members who are citizens and experience disability in their daily life outnumber the staff. So we are there guided by them. I'm the public policy director. I can help her navigate the legislative process. I can help get meetings with legislators and make introductions, and I can lend capacity when we have a dozen meetings we need to make before a committee meeting, for example. However, Chrissy is the expert. She can answer the questions that I can't answer because I've not lived it like she has. Probably the most important thing the council does is we give a platform to people like Chrissy that she may not have felt that she had before.
There was a lot I didn't understand about policy and legislation, and I felt a little inadequate. I think I've gained more confidence in my story, in sharing our story, so that others can understand what our life is like, and honestly what the lives of other individuals and other families who have a loved one with a disability, what they might be going through.
It's intimidating to take that first step. One way to take the first step is to go to our website. We can connect you with people in your community who are ready to walk with you.
It just takes everyday people speaking up, sharing their stories to make change. And I didn't think I could do it. Along the way, so many times I have doubted myself, but just share your story because no one lives your life.
Wow, what a nice video that was made there. And what was that? Somebody say something? Maybe I guess I'm hearing things. Uh, but that's such a great video. I think it really kind of lays out what you're trying to accomplish here, kind of in short. But or why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're working at?
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute.
And I don't know if you have a PowerPoint that you're bringing up or something. You can do that now if you
Yes,
want to.
Babs has that.
Okay. But that's a very powerful video. I think, probably a lot of people really haven't thought about this issue that you're dealing with. And you have thought about it quite a bit because you've been places and having to, deal with this situation. And so that's how issues are born and brought to the attention of the legislature so that they can do something about it. So that's really great. So with that, I'll turn it over to you here, Chrissy.
All right. So the first slide you guys are seeing, these, you may have seen these across the state. These are billboards that the Tennessee Council on Developmental Disabilities put up talking about the need for adult-sized changing tables. And the thing that I try to continue to say over and over, whether it be on my personal social media or on the Changing Spaces or anywhere else, is because everyone deserves dignity. We don't talk about going to the restroom. That's kind of a topic that most people don't discuss. So we want to make sure that everyone that needs to use the toilet, needs to use the restroom, needs to be changed, that they maintain their dignity. Next slide, please. So this is Changing Spaces Tennessee, and Changing Spaces Tennessee grew out of the Changing Spaces campaign that originated in Canada. Now, most states have their own chapter of Changing Spaces, and within those chapters, they are all working on different various legislation. Some have been successful, some have been very unsuccessful and have been at this for 5 or more years and not seen the success that we have seen here in Tennessee. Next slide, please.
Is that is Changing Spaces specific to this idea of establishing places for for adults to be able to be changed? Is that the specific issue that all of these Changing Spaces programs are working toward, or they're broader than that?
No, it is. And I'll read you their mission statement. It's to promote inclusion, access, and equality for individuals with disabilities nationwide who cannot safely use standard handicapped toilets in public spaces. Okay. So that's kind of their mission project, or mission statement.
All right. Thank you for that.
Sure. So any of the slides with question marks, I am opening it up for questions. So we're interactive. So what is wrong with these pictures? Anyone? What do you see wrong with picture A?
Carson doesn't fit.
He doesn't fit on that table. And at this point, he is 3 years old, but he doesn't fit. He's hanging off. So is that safe for him to be on a table that is smaller than he is?
I wouldn't think so.
No. So what is wrong with picture B?
Well, I'm going to let some other people weigh in here. Okay, here we go. Monique came in. She says it's too high, for one thing.
Yes. So for us, that is Elena, our daughter, and she is mobile. She is not a chair user. However, she cannot get herself up on that table because of the height of it. It is an adult changing table. It is an adult changing table that is recessed into the wall. And there are a few places that do have those. However, she cannot get herself up on there. And even though she doesn't even weigh 100 pounds, I cannot physically lift her up and put her on there. So you think about a chair user and having to pick them up from the chair and up to that point. Let's think about some of our adults. Say we have a father with dementia who is in a chair. How do we pick him up if he weighs 200 pounds and put him up there? We can't. Next slide, please. So what options do you think we have for changing our loved ones who have outgrown those baby changing tables?
Well, let's get our audience to weigh in. You can either weigh in through the chat or you can come off mute and respond to this question.
I know I've had to change my little baby on the floor, and so I'm sure that's an option that you're kind of stuck with too.
Correct. Very much. Anyone else?
Lauren is responding, the trunk of a car.
Correct. Next slide, please. So change on the dirty bathroom floor. This is a friend on the bottom, Matthew, who is from another Changing Spaces chapter. His mom gave me permission to share this. And if you look above him, you see a baby changing table. But he is forced to lay on the floor to be changed. So that means we have to take the little, we call them furniture pads. I think some people call them chuck pads. We have to take those with us everywhere we go, but we have to have multiple ones if we're going to change on the floor. The other option, you see Elena is she's laying behind the driver's seat between the second rows of seats in our van, and we have to change her there. We purposely purchased, I just recently, not even a year ago, got a new to me van, and we chose a van because I can pull the door right up against my body to shield anyone from seeing her as much as possible. And in the other picture, you see that our friend Carson is laying in the back of the SUV being changed. So we have to do this all while hoping no one walks in and sees our loved one, or that we don't expose them. And that's how Roddy Coe became involved. Is he walked into a restroom, a public restroom, and there was a gentleman in his 30s laying exposed on a bathroom floor being changed. So that those are a couple of our options. Next slide, please. We have to stay isolated at home from our community. When Elena's sisters were growing up, they were very active in sports and 4-H and church and all types of things. And there were times that we had to divide our family. My husband would go with them to activities, and I would stay home with Elena, or I would go with them and he would stay home, or we just simply had to say, girls, I'm sorry, there is nowhere to change Elena. The bathroom stalls aren't large enough. The bathroom itself is not large enough. We have to limit the amount of time that we spend outside the home because she could soil herself. We have to limit the amount of food and drink that she has while we're outside of the home. Because again, if we intake food, we intake liquid, and that means that we have to go. Or we have to leave them soiled in their diaper, which no one is, we don't, that's not comfortable. That's not humane. But those are some of the options that we have. And one of the things that one of my friends who has this need with her family, she said, for most families, when we talk about going on a trip or going on an outing or going shopping, we talk about where are we going to eat? What neat restaurant do we want to stop at? Where does everyone want to eat? But for our family, it's always, where are we going to change him when he needs to be changed? It's not, your entire trip, your entire outing revolves around the ability to change someone.
That, and it often sounds like discourages you from going into these situations because you can't preserve the dignity of your loved one when you go into these types of settings.
Exactly.
I think that's a key point you're trying to make.
Yes, and no one, another comment that was made by someone was, COVID has taught us that no one likes to be stuck at home, having to quarantine or having to stay home. But for our loved ones, that's, for a lot of times, that's just the reality of their life. They're not getting to live their best life because they're stuck at home. And that's really difficult for them. Next slide, please. So why do you hang your purse from the hook on the bathroom door?
I'm going to let some of the ladies answer that question out there. Keep it from getting dirty.
There are comments coming in. The floor is dirty. Keep it from getting dirty. I don't want it to get dirty.
Right. So you think about a bathroom floor. It's dirty. It's complete, we stop and one thing that you have to consider too is that bathroom, public restrooms, they don't have a lid to shut before you flush, and everything sprays everywhere. So we have hooks on the back of a bathroom door. And if we're honest, ladies, sometimes we get a little frustrated if we walk in that bathroom and we close the stall door and the hook is missing, because that means I have to put my purse on the floor. That's the same place we have to change our kids, our fathers, our mothers, our spouses, our veterans, because we don't have any other option for changing them. Next slide, please.
Chrissy, Kershana Overstreet also pointed out that another reason to hang your purse on the door is because your money will slide out. She said that was a superstition on behalf of her grandmother that she had developed over time. So I did, that actually was one of my first things that I thought about was your purse might get stolen. Somebody reach over there and grab it.
Right.
But I now understand it's to keep it clean. So that's a critical piece of information to have about this. Thank you.
Okay, so tell me, who do you think might need an adult changing table?
So let's solicit some responses from our audience.
Older adults, yes. Physical disability, yes.
You mentioned veterans a moment ago, that a veteran might have a disability that would require that.
Yes. Children. Next slide, please. So basically anyone who has outgrown a baby changing table. That's even our toddlers. I can't remember if Elena outgrew she was somewhere between 3 and 5 years old when she outgrew. But children, teens, adults, older adults, veterans. I know my mother, when she was battling cancer, some of the chemo presented some issues with controlling everything. So when she went out, there were times that we would limit our time out because she would need to be changed. So sometimes it's not, someone that is necessarily born with a disability, because we know that the disability community is the only minority group that anyone can join at any time. So we can be a car accident, a ball accident, ATV. We could be an illness away from being someone who does in fact need assistance in the restroom and need to be changed. Our veterans, as they come back, can you imagine? Our veterans have gone and fought for our country, for our freedoms, and they're being laid on a dirty bathroom floor or told they have to stay home because there's nowhere to change them.
Yeah, because I would imagine a lot of those folks would just say, I'm not going out if this is a potential thing that may happen with me now. In fact, I've experienced that with my parents and my wife's parents that when they're experiencing a problem that may emerge like a bathroom accident, that they really would prefer just not to face that. And because they're going to find themselves in an undignified situation, having to deal with it.
Exactly. I have a friend, her father has dementia, and she is his primary caregiver. She lives about 20 minutes from town. Again, we're in a rural area. She has errands that she needs to do, and she has things that she needs to take care of, bills to pay, and groceries to, even if it is, curbside pickup, things that she needs to do. But by the time she drives 20 minutes into town and 20 minutes home, that's 40 minutes away from the home. And in that time frame, he may need somewhere to be changed. So that presents problems with caregivers even being able to get out. It also presents problems with support worker, with your support personnel, taking them out. So there's a whole lot of issues there that we often don't think about. So the need can be for any age, any size. It's there for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons. Next slide, please. So all ages, size, abilities, and gender can use a powered height adjustable adult size changing table in a family restroom. And what I love about the fact that they are in family restrooms is that dads have a place to change their babies. I know there's been a lot of discussion, and there were even a few laws that were presented before Tennessee legislation about requiring We're requiring a baby changing table in the men's restroom because dads need to change their babies too. This eliminates that issue because this is a family restroom with a large table. And so that table will accommodate the lifespan from infants to your older adults. So moms can go in and change their sons. Wives can change their spouses. Sons can change their fathers. Because everyone deserves dignity. Everyone would have a location, a place to go in and change them and help them get out of their homes, off those bathroom floors, and keep their dignity. Next slide,
Chrissy,
please.
this gets down into details, but we're into details here. So would this replace existing child changing tables? So in other words, everybody could use the same changing table, or would there still be a child changing table and an adult changing table?
That would be up to the individual business or location. However, yes, they can use them, and the bathrooms, the family restrooms will be open to anyone, just like a lot. For example, right now we're doing a big push on Target. Target, we once another state, another Changing Spaces has gotten their attention, and I believe it's Changing Spaces Ohio. They have gotten Target's attention, and so they are asking everyone to email Target and ask them to put them in their family restrooms. I have been in a family restroom right off I-65, and I cannot remember if it's Hickory Boulevard or Old Hickory Boulevard, where it is, but that particular Target has a family restroom that is large enough to just put a adult changing table in. Now it does require some electrical work and things like that, but anyone can go in there and use that family restroom that needs it. And this just puts a table in there as well to get them off the floor and a safe, private place to be changed.
Okay.
So why do you think we would need powered, height adjustable adult
Okay.
changing?
Actually, had I looked at this question before I just asked that, I probably wouldn't have asked it, because I was wondering whether people with younger children would prefer a higher table to do the changing, but this explains that. So, or I don't know if it explains, this question gets at that. So, and Michelle has responded to avoid lifting and to customize.
Yes, to accommodate all. Next slide, please. Safety. So it is not only safer for the individual, it is also safer for the caregiver. So these tables will lower all the way down, and I believe they lower, I want to tell you exactly, but I can just tell you that it's less than a foot off the ground. I mean, it is very much safe to transfer. The person can transfer straight from the chair over to the table. And then you can lift it up so that you have an experience of you're not bending all the way over and hurting your back, and you're not reaching way up here either, but you're not having to lift that person, which could result in you dropping them, which could result in an injury. For our family, we know the reality that for the rest of Elena's life, or the rest of our lives, we will have to take care of her. I need my body to hold up for me to be able to care for her in our home. If I hurt my back lifting her or leaning way over, then I'm not a lot of good to her. And we stop and think about that too. When we have our support personnel taking the clients out into the community, they need the same thing. And one thing that my husband and I discussed was, I bet that could cut down a little bit of workman's comp from injuries of lifting someone, whether to lift them out of the chair to the floor, because I can tell you that is a lot harder to do, to lift them out of a chair and lower them to the floor, than it is to lift them and put them up. Or at least it was for us when Elena was a chair user.
As a person who now appreciates my stand-up recliner, I can fully understand this, and it really does save you ultimately physically, having that capacity to be able to do this in an automated fashion. Candy Turner asked, could it be crank adjusted to eliminate the need for electricity? Are there crank models for this, like once you would crank up versus electrical models?
They have some that raise and lower, kind of like a gurney does. So it kind of has I don't know if you'd say handles or what it is, but it will go up and down kind of like a gurney. And actually they have some that really and truly look like a gurney. So there are other options, but the powered height adjustable, again, it decreases the need for the lifting, because you are still going to have to do a little bit of lifting or a little bit of, if it was crank, a little bit of that. Next slide, please. So legislation, this is where we are. We have House Bill 905 and Senate Bill 602. I spoke with my state representative, Clay Doggett, at Disability Day on the Hill. And we took Elaine, my husband and I took Elena, and we went to the last in-person Disability Day on the Hill and just presented the idea to him, let him know that we had this need. And it's like I say all the time, it's not that the individual does not care. They are not living my life, and they do not have that need in their life, so they don't think about it. He has signed on as our House sponsor. We have co-sponsors, Representative Jernigan, Helton, Whitson, and Towns. And as I mentioned before, my co-council member, Roddy Coe, went and spoke with Senator Watson after he saw the gentleman being changed in a public restroom. And Senator Watson has signed on as our sponsor, and then Senator Massey is our co-sponsor. So we started on this bill last year. Next slide, please. And this is kind of a very brief overview of our bill. So we initially started requiring newly constructed or renovating buildings that are open to the public, and the renovation being like over $10,000, to put in at least one family restroom that contained that power height adjustable adult size changing table. We realized that the fiscal note was absolutely out the roof and was killing us. So we amended that to include only buildings over 40,000 square feet. So our goal was not to hit every single place in the world or to put our moms and pops out of business. It was the larger places that people frequent. Because if you have those family restrooms in Target and you're out somewhere and you need somewhere to change them, and Target has those family restrooms with an adult changing table, then you have somewhere that you can pop in and be changed, or not be changed, but to change your loved one. So then this year we took a step back and realized that we were getting quite a bit of opposition, and we removed all of that previous language, and now it would only require TDOT to put them in the family restroom, or not in family restrooms, in rest areas and welcome centers. And it also established a grant that DIDD would take care of that would offer money and help and support to put these in private and municipally owned buildings that were open to the public. TDOT came to us and said, we are willing to do this without legislation, which was amazing. So because they were willing to do that without legislation, and because that part of the bill made our fiscal note so high, we removed the rest areas and the welcome centers from the bill. And then it just kept in the grant through DIDD. So it has unanimously passed the Senate Commerce and Labor, the House Property and Planning Subcommittee, and their local government committee. It is scheduled tomorrow at 2 o'clock to go before the House Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee. And then it'll eventually, hoping it passes and believing it's going to pass tomorrow, then it will go before the full Finance, Ways and Means Committee, and then the Senate Finance, Ways and Means Committee. And once it goes to that, we know that we have full Senate, full House vote, and then we cross that finish line that we've so desperately been looking for.
This is like that Sesame Street episode, I guess, that we were talking about earlier, where we're learning about how a bill becomes a law. But it's such an extensive process that you have to go through to get something done about one of these types of matters. When you think about all these committees it has to go through, so I guess you've had to have a lot of interface with the legislature across the course of getting this done.
Absolutely. We have spent a lot of time on phone calls, conversations through Zoom meetings. We've had lots of emails. We've reached out and done several calls to action, just asking, please, email these committees, call these committees, even if it's not your particular legislator. The more people that let them know we have this need, and there are a lot of people that have this need, the more likely we are to get this passed. So it is a very much a group effort, absolute group effort. And if it were not for Lauren Piercy and Brian Keller, I don't know what I would be doing right now, because they have held my hand and guided me through this entire process and helped me in so many ways, things that I didn't know and I didn't understand. You know, what does it mean when a bill's behind the budget? What does it mean when they're passing it because the fiscal note, it was untimely, I can't think what I'm trying to say, but filed untimely. They had to teach me all those things.
Aren't they great partners to have? We've partnered with the Council on Developmental Disabilities on numerous things over the years. Most notably, they really helped us out with our assessment stabilization team. So I'm not at all surprised at how much they've helped you in this circumstance, and just what a great partner they are in everything that we try to accomplish on behalf of people with disabilities.
Yes, they are absolutely amazing. Next slide, please. So here's how you can help. If you have not already gone on Facebook and liked Changing Spaces Tennessee, please do so. That's how you can kind of keep up with things. Also, if you saw at the end of the video, the Tennessee Council on Developmental Disabilities, they keep a lot of things. They have an actual area because it is one of their priority bills this year. So there's information there that you can keep up with, and you can get their emails, their policy emails that kind of keep you weekly up to date on where the bill is. Share your story. We all have a story. We all have a need. It's our lives that no one else lives. So share your story.
And we have a lot of people who could share a story about that, because we have a lot of people in services through DIDD and through other disability services that are out there who are facing this challenge every day, and who probably didn't really feel like they had much of a voice to bring this up. And so it's such a great vehicle that you've created here for people to be able to share information about that and to get something done about it. It just must feel very gratifying to be in the midst of this process. Do you feel confident that this is going to move forward as you have laid it out here, Chrissy?
I do, because we have worked so diligently to get that fiscal note down. And it's, from what we're understanding from all the legislators we've spoken to, and all of our those that are working on this bill have spoken to, basically a lot of this comes down to money. I mean, you know, everything, unfortunately, or a lot of things come down to money. Our legislators understand that this is a huge need, and they do care, and they do want to get our loved ones off the floor and back into their communities. So I am very hopeful that this year we will get that grant. And the way the grant will work is they apply to DIDD, and they are giving out, if I'm 100 grants across the state of Tennessee. So if you have a business, or business is open to the public or something, you can apply for this for your business to get support. And so they'll go through the grant process and handle it from there. I am not a grant expert, so I will leave that to the fine folks at DIDD to handle. But that, I'm very hopeful and that it's going to pass.
Yeah, and so with that, do you know how long would it be? Would we begin that process right after July 1st, or how long would it be before this would start coming to fruition?
I believe it is July 1st. If you go, let me go to if you go and look at go to www.capital.tn.gov, you can put in the bill number, and it will take you through and show the bill history and the amendments and everything. And I believe in that it spells out the timeline for it.
Okay.
I believe, I'm pretty sure it's there in the amendments that explain a little. It's very lengthy, and it's a lot of language. So it should be in there to explain how the process will work.
Okay. So we've got it posted up in here that Lauren has posted the link so that people can go there and see that bill history that you're talking about. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat right now. I'm just thinking about all of the people that we serve through the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, all the families that we know out there who may have just, not experienced the same quality of life that they might have hoped, may not have been able to visit certain places or whatever because of this concern. And that, that we're on the cusp here of being able to take one more small step toward really improving the quality of life of people with disabilities. So I can't say enough about how wonderful this is that you've approached this and that you're getting this done, Chrissy.
Thank you. So one thing I will share with you is, in addition to sharing your story or being the voice for someone else who has that need and contacting the members of the Senate and House Finance, Ways and Means Committee, share in your community the need. Have those conversations with your local government. Have those conversations with your mayor, your county executive. So because of those conversations and because of some partnerships, the Adventure Science Center with the Mayor Group and Maxability and the Council on Developmental Disabilities, they opened a family restroom that we were honored to be there to help to do the ribbon cutting at the Adventure Science Center. Also, this next picture is at our Pulaski Parks and Recreation. One of the stories I shared was of an experience we had while there at a family 4th of July event. And so our city council took it upon themselves to put this in. And this was a massive renovation that they had to do to a building that was not ADA compliant at all. The restroom was not. And then the last one I'll just share is from We Rock the Spectrum in Franklin, Tennessee. And they also put in one. And we went and actually saw that a few weeks ago when Elena had an appointment. We stopped by, played for a little bit, and got to see it. And it's just so nice to have those, to have places. And We Rock the Spectrum said, we want to be a place that even if you're not coming to play, but you need to come change a loved one, come on in. We invite you to come in and use our adult changing table. So that's one of the amazing things about all of this. And the last slide, I believe. Any questions?
Yeah, we'll see if there are any questions. I think some people are concerned about who to get in touch with about this. And so I assume that the first thing has to happen is the bill has to pass. And
Correct.
then DIDD will be setting up a procedure for accepting those grants or grant requests. And I did have a question about the grant request though, Chrissy. So those could come from say a local government that wants to put in an adult changing table at some of their facilities, that they could apply for one of these grants. Is that what I'm understanding? Or
Absolutely.
it could also be a private business, or could
Yes.
it also be a private business? Okay.
It could be a private business, a local municipality, anything that is open to the public.
And do you know what the size of those grants is? That may be too much detail at this point, but
I believe they are $5,000. I could be incorrect, so please don't hold me to that.
okay. And what is the typical cost of one of these?
So we have a
So-
breakdown on the different tables, and depending on what kind you want, they can range between like 3,000 and 10,000.
Okay.
Depending on, you can get the one like We Rock the Spectrum versus the one that was at the Pulaski Recreation Center. There's a difference in cost in those.
Okay.
So it just depends on, do you want the Cadillac? Do you want to pay that big price, or do you want the basic that will take care of, that will still absolutely take care
Still
of the
works
needs?
well.
Yes,
that
very
low
well.
end. Yeah. Okay. Great. That's good to hear. So let's see. What else do we have here, questions wise? Babs, are there other questions here that we haven't asked
No,
so
I
far?
haven't received any directly to me. There were questions about who the contact person that did would be. I think people are excited to get started, Chrissy.
Yay, that makes me happy.
Yeah, it seems like we've got a lot of excitement around this topic. And it's as you initially said, it's not really the most like up there topic that I think a lot of people think about, but unless you're having to face it on a regular
Right.
basis, as you have been. And so then it becomes a really, really important issue. And I think it's something that has opened the eyes of quite a few people here today to see what you're doing and what is going to be possible for people going forward. And just like I said, another little battle won here in helping people with disabilities be part of our community, not just in the community, but participants in the community.
Yes.
And that's what's so important about what you're doing. And thank you so much for being here today and presenting this for us.
Thank you. And I put my information in the chat box if anyone would like more information or has any questions.
Yeah, and so get on board, support Chrissy in this effort, and let's all then celebrate when July 1st rolls around. Hopefully, we'll have these throughout the state for people with disabilities. And again, thank you so much, Chrissy, for being here with us today. And thank you all, our audience, for being here today as well. This is the Clinical Consultation Network. We do this every Tuesday at 12:30. And next week we have, remind me, Babs, who our guest is next week again. It's the Hamilton County Liaison.
Yes, I actually
Homeless
just closed
liaison.
the window for it. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay. We have a guest who is the homeless liaison for Hamilton County Schools, who will be here with us next week. We don't remember her name right offhand, but we will put that information out in a timely fashion so that you can attend next week. And again, thank you so much for being here today, Chrissy. And we will see you all again next week.